Tori Kruse. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Please put your comments below, and you can also find me on social media at Miss Tori Kruse. I am so excited to share my special guest with you today. This is Mariah Clayton. She's Miss Louisiana USA 2020. We're continuing our Crownversations series. It's been so much fun just talking with these title holders and just seeing what they've done to get to the success and get to the level that they were at competing at Miss USA. So I want to welcome you, Mariah. Thank you for joining us on the show today. And I'm just so excited to dive in and get to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, Mariah is Miss Louisiana USA. I absolutely love talking to her because when I competed at Miss USA, I competed in Shreveport, Louisiana. And we were just kind of laughing about that. We went from Las Vegas to Shreveport, Louisiana. But you know what? It's all right.
Yes.
Treated us like royalty. It was great.
Yes.
We had the Southern comfort food there too, so that was just prime food for competition.
It doesn't matter what city you go to in Louisiana, you will always be fed really well.
Yeah, we were. It was so good. It was awesome. So everybody, Mariah is the founder of Girls in Real Life, which is, she encourages young women to live fearlessly and filter free. Hello, like we can use that so much right now with all the filters. And so I just want you to talk about that a little bit, Mariah. Like, how did you start that? Where did that stem from? And yeah, take it away.
Yeah, so after I won my title, I knew that I really wanted my reign to focus on self-love and teaching girls how to love themselves and accept themselves for who they are. Because for so long, I did not do that. And I did not have that self-confidence that I have today. So I really just wanted to create an atmosphere where women could feel uplifted, get advice from other people, and just know that they're not alone in what they're feeling. Because there were so many times when I was younger that I thought I was the only one going through something, or I thought I was the only one dealing with something. And I've grown up and realized that so many girls go through the same thing. So I think it's just comforting to know that you're not the only one going through something. And starting my organization, it wasn't really supposed to be an organization, honestly. It was going to be like a one-time event for the community that I was going to have in my city locally. And then when the pandemic hit, I had to kind of readjust and figure out how I was still going to reach people and still do this event that I wanted to do. And it just kind of stemmed from a self-love workshop into an entire self-love organization with an Instagram page and a podcast and just so many other things I would have never thought that I would have or could have started. So it's definitely been a journey. And I think the most rewarding part is just knowing that I'm helping so many people and that people are actually getting what they need from the podcast and from the Instagram page. And I've gotten so many messages to where it's like, thank you so much for speaking on this topic or for bringing awareness to this because I'm going through this right now. So I think that's like the best part.
So what's one of your most popular and favorite topics to speak about when it comes to
I
self-love?
think my most popular one that I didn't think was going to be very popular was about postgrad depression. And I knew that I wanted to talk about it because I dealt with it personally after I graduated. I graduated my undergraduate a semester early. I was a collegiate athlete. And so it was like in the blink of an eye, my entire identity of who I was, a student athlete, was completely stripped from me. And I had no idea what I was going to do. I couldn't find a job. And I was just in a really low place because all of my friends were still in school and in college, and I was the odd one out, So I did a podcast episode about that topic, and it was really popular. I didn't expect it to be that popular, but again, like I said, it's so comforting to know that you're not the only one going through something. And especially when you're like going through it, you don't really know what it is. Like I didn't know what I was dealing with at the time. I didn't know it was postgrad depression. I just thought I was sad and thought that I was having like this life adjustment, but I look back and I realized like, no, it was really difficult for me to get out of bed. It was really hard for me to stay motivated. I felt like I had no purpose. And the more research I did, it was like, okay, this is what it is. And it's really weird because it's not a diagnosis that a counselor or a therapist can do for you. So it's not like in the DSM-5, it's not like something that's claimed to be mentally ill. But I feel like a lot of people do go through it, and there's been a lot of research done on it. So hopefully one day it can be something that you can be diagnosed with so that you can get the proper help that you need. But for now, Google is a great tool. And, I think the one thing for me that helped the most was getting back into a routine. because as an athlete, I had people constantly telling me all the time what to eat, what to wear, where to go, what time to do it. And I didn't have that anymore. So I kind of had to be that for myself. And so I found that once I got back into a routine and I like filled my day with things to do, I was able to get out of that rut and, start doing things that made me happy again, which I think was really important.
I like what you said there too, is something about just showing up, right? Like you said to get up,
Yeah.
and get ready and do it. And that's something that I've been talking about a lot lately too, is just half the battle is just showing up and, working out. If you just go to the gym, I don't care if you just sit on the dang rower and you don't even do anything. Sometimes just like showing up, just going there, doing your hair, your makeup, whatever makes you feel good, get ready. And so that's a really interesting thing. I would have never guessed that either. Postgrad depression.
Yeah, I'd never thought about that, but I was really glad that I did it. And I knew that I wanted to talk about it because it was something that I personally dealt with. So I was like, maybe someone else out there is dealing with this. And they were.
I can see that for sure too, being a collegiate athlete. Everybody, she played volleyball. She's pretty much just a boss. All around boss. And so yeah, I can see that being a collegiate athlete though. And then, you really don't even have to think for yourself sometimes because you just have your team and coaches
Yes.
guiding you every step of the way. So that's really, really interesting. What's your podcast called?
It's called Girls in Real Life.
Girls in Real Life. Okay, so everybody go check it out, especially if there's a lot of girls who are college age who are listening to this right now and, on the podcast and YouTube channel as well. So, a lot of girls think that pageantry is this, they see it on TV, right? Like collars and tiaras, I think. I think that's framed pageantry and just a terrible life.
That'll never happen.
No, it just never happens. But something that I think is really cool, and maybe through this Crownversations series, people are starting to pick up that a lot of pageant girls are actually athletes as well. And so something that I find really interesting, I didn't play in college, but basketball, I was really big into basketball and volleyball in high school. And so I've found that there are some things with sports that carry over to pageants, which then that mindset and traits carry over to your career as well. So what would you say as a collegiate athlete playing at that level and then also competing at the Miss USA level? I mean, those are two very prestige titles in a sense that you could do. What kind of mindset techniques have you really carried over that have helped you with your confidence throughout the years?
I always tell people that when I played collegiate volleyball, I had never pushed myself to an extreme like that ever in my life. And, my coach really like pulled something out of me that I didn't think was in me. Every time that I thought that I couldn't go anymore, I couldn't run any faster, I couldn't go after that ball and get a dig or a touch on it. Like she was like, no, you have to keep pushing yourself and your body and your mindset past the point that you think you can go. And I think that has stuck with me throughout my career in athletics and throughout my career in pageantry. Even when I feel like I can't go anymore, there's always a little bit more left in you. And I think they're both very strenuous. They're both very challenging. And you have to have discipline and you have to have a good mindset because it's all a mental game at the end of the day.
It is 100%.
Right. Being an athlete and being in a pageant, like you are dealing with some very strenuous, like mentality stuff. So I think just making sure that you're prepared mentally, number one, is going to be most beneficial, but also just understanding that you have to push yourself against the limits. You have to get outside of your comfort zone and outside of yourself in order to truly be successful. And, I tell girls that all the time, like you can't go into it thinking it's one track minded, like there's so many different outcomes and it's so subjective, athletics and pageantry, and on any given day, anybody can win. Like it doesn't matter, one day a girl could win and the next day another girl can win. Same thing with sports. One day your team can win, the next day your team can lose. It's all subjective. It's all a part of the process. And I think that once you realize that, you'll be able to, take those wins and those losses both equally.
I always say every no was one step closer to my yes. And I have sticky notes right here, right on my desk. It says get 10 no's every single day. Get 5 maybes, get 1 yes. Because I feel like a lot of us look at it in the reverse effect, right? Where it's like, if we lose a sporting event or if we lose a pageant, lose, I guess, you still got it, still made it. But if you don't win, then you can oftentimes get discouraged. And I think if we reframe our mind that, okay, cool, let's get 10 no's or let's get 1 no, and it's just one step closer to our yes. And so I love how that mindset has totally transitioned from athletics to pageantry. And then now what are you doing for your career? What would you ideally like to do after Miss USA here?
Ideally, I would like to model and travel. That's been like my dream. If I could book a Fenty Beauty campaign, I feel like I would have reached my life's goal.
Let's do it.
But I've also I've also recently like gotten into motivational speaking. I mean, through my podcast, I find that I have like a real passion for like speaking and talking and just reaching people who I otherwise would never be able to talk to. And even throughout my reign as Miss Louisiana USA, I got to go travel to so many different schools and talk to the students and do public speaking events. And I really enjoyed those. So I would hope to one day make those two dreams come true, but we'll see what happens.
Hey, girl, you can do it 100%. And so I actually kind of want to go back a little bit about the discipline aspect that you were talking about and a little bit of the confidence part. On those days where you necessarily don't want to get up and show up and do the work or push yourself a little bit further. I mean, some people could be in a little bit of a mindset rut right now with what's going on in our country, of course. And then after the holidays, trying to get back on track with all this other external distraction. How do you force yourself to like get up and just like start having the confidence even after you've been told no? Like how do you get back up?
Well, first of all, let me just tell y'all, I am in that rut right now. Like I am actively sitting in that pit right now, struggling and dealing with that. And I think it's okay to give yourself those days to really just do nothing. Like if you really genuinely feel like I can't do this today, don't do it, you know? But I also feel like those days where, you know, you've rested and you've spent this time thinking and writing and reflecting, after that point, you know, you have to find it within yourself to really get up and go and do it. And I think I always tell people the hardest part is getting up. But what we all know from science class is that an object in motion stays in motion. So all you have to do is take that first step. Take that first step to get out of bed, walk to your bathroom, brush your teeth, do your hair, wash your face, like simple things like that. And you have to celebrate the small victories. You know, don't be so focused on this big picture goal. You know, if all you did today was get up and eat and brush your teeth, like congratulations, like you did it. Awesome job. If you were able to go to work, if you were able to check something off your to-do list, congratulations, awesome job. Like you have to be able to celebrate those small victories and not get so stuck on, I didn't do this today, I didn't finish this, I'm never going to get to do this, you know. So I think you really have to be intentional about focusing on the positive and the things that you have done and that you have accomplished and how far you have gotten, because it's so easy to focus on the negative side of it and to focus on the things that you haven't completed or the things that you'll never be able to do, you know what I'm saying? So I think really celebrating the small victories and focusing on the things that you have accomplished can be really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have to touch on one thing. If you're in a rut right now, I think people are looking at you and being like, dang, I wish I was in her rut. You know, like that. And a thing like that, though,
Exactly.
it is like, it's always, I don't like, people are always thinking, gosh, I wish I had her life. Or like, I guarantee people are looking at your Instagram right now. And even though you're super authentic and you're super real, that I bet they're looking and being like, dang, I wish I had her life. And then here you're over here and you're in this rut, which I appreciate and I honor your honesty with that and your vulnerability just saying that. But you showed up today, you know, and like you didn't have to show up for this interview because maybe you just didn't want to do it, right? And so, but I just want to honor you for that because I really respect that you're number one speaking about that, because a lot of people do, and a lot of girls I feel like instantly compare themselves to social media feeds. I'm sure dudes do as well,
Yeah.
but I'm just speaking for women because that's what I know. But you
Yeah.
know, we compare ourselves sometimes just not even realizing that we are. And so just for you to be authentic enough to say like, I'm there right now, but everybody look, she's here, you know? And
Mhm.
so just you showing up, like you're being that leader, you're being that role model. And I just want to encourage you to keep showing up. And I love the fact that you said that if you don't feel like doing anything, don't do it. And that
So
is, it's so important because we keep pressing on. And sometimes when you just push further and further and further, it just gets
you
worse and
break
worse and
down.
worse. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like society has just put this, especially for women, like they have put this timeline of like we have to be married by this age, we need to have kids by this age, we have to have our career by this age, like all these stupid things that we strive for all the time that society has deemed successful. And what I've learned, especially like at 24 years old, I'm literally living in my parents' pool house in the backyard. I don't have a job. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and it is times where I look on social media and I'm like, man, my friend who I graduated with, she's getting married. My friend who I graduated with, she just got a really good job. And you do compare yourself to those people because it's so easy to do that. But you have to realize that your path is not their path and vice versa. And if you are saying that, oh, I wish I had their life, then you're essentially saying that you guys are supposed to have the same path and you're not. You know, everyone's going through their own trials, their own struggles, their own tribulations. And I think that once you realize that nobody's life is perfect, that's when you'll be able to understand, like, man, I'm doing a really good job over here, you know? And that's another reason why I wanted to start my organization, because social media is this highlight reel and it's this place where everybody goes to share their successes and their victories and all these other things. And I just really wanted to strip all that away and remind people of what it means to be a girl in real life, like in true living, like this is what a girl is and this is what she can do and what she's capable of. And it doesn't look the same for everybody, but that's okay. So I think that's like super important. Sometimes you just have to step away from social media and from comparing yourself because it can be very, very toxic.
Yeah, 100%. You nailed that for sure. And when you were talking about your friend going to college or going like, you know, getting married and getting this job and everything, she's on her own struggles, you know, that are
Right.
hidden, we don't know about. I mean, everybody's going through their own stuff, and God has us
Exactly.
all on a different path. And so I think just, you know, hanging on to that faith and belief in that, you know, you're on your own journey and it'll come in the right timing. How many years did you compete in pageantry?
I started competing when I was 18 and then I took like a hiatus. So I guess like collectively five years.
Yeah. And so what I'm kind of seeing is like your whole life you've been like you're an achiever, right? I mean, you can't be a collegiate athlete
Yeah.
without being an achiever. And so you're this really
Yeah.
driven person and you have the bar clearly set very, very high for yourself. I mean, you played volleyball in college, you've been coaching since you were 18, and then you just competed at Miss USA. And so it's to take a break from something like that. And, you know, this is for anybody who's been achieving stuff. It may be something in business, or maybe you just graduated college and are experiencing that postgrad depression. You just achieved something
Yeah.
really massive in your life. And so even though you didn't walk away with the Miss USA title, you, it sounds cliche, but you were still a winner because you were there. You were still top 51 of the
Right.
country. And so
Right.
and that was just November. And so, you know, to take a break is like, okay, you just devoted 5 years of your life really to getting to the Miss USA title. And then,
Mhm.
you know, now you're in this lull time, but it's like, you know, we go through peaks and valleys and, you know, it's always an interesting, God gave me this vision the other day about that, actually looking out at the mountains from my place. And I was like, you know what? Like I was in one of those deep valleys a few weeks ago and I was like super down, super depressed. Like I got back up, but it was just like I was super sad. And so I looked
Yeah.
outside and was like, you know what? I was on this like mountaintop, right? Like I was on this peak. And then all of a sudden, like
Mhm.
you slowly go down and then you get into this deep valley. And then, but the mountain always goes back up. And
It
so
does.
I just want to remind anybody who's listening right now, and for you as well, like you were just on the mountaintop, like you were at the peak. And then now you went down a little bit, but you're going to climb again. And God has a huge plan for you. And I'm super excited for you. And I'm cheering for you, girl.
Thanks.
But
No, I think it's important to note, like, I've always been the person who has constantly looked for what's next.
yeah,
And when I accomplish something, I'm like automatically ready to redirect and conquer like the next thing. And when I don't get there as quickly as I feel like I should, then I get really sad and mad at myself because it's like I know what I'm capable of. So why am I not accomplishing it? But I think what God has shown me in the past couple of weeks is to really just tend to what he's already given me. Like instead of constantly always looking for that next thing, like tend to the things that are already in my hands. Like stop worrying about what's not there. You know, focus on what you do have and cultivate that and watch me work in your life. And so that's kind of like the mindset that I've been on right now, and just trying not to worry about the future because I've always done that. And, you know, I feel like it gives me so much anxiety and I hate that feeling. So
yeah,
I've been trying to really just not focus on what's next and what are my plans, and just really focus on, okay, this is what God has given me in this season right now. I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to cultivate this. I'm going to make it as best as I can. And we'll see what happens from there. And I think that that's okay too.
Girl, I just hear you talking and I see and hear so much of myself through you right now. If my brother, I'm sure my brother will listen to this podcast, but if he's listening to this right now live, he's probably laughing because I was saying this exact same thing to my brother right before I started my business, Highlights and Heels, just a couple months after Miss USA. And so, but I was in your same position. I was like, oh, I really want to be a motivational speaker. I didn't really know exactly. I wanted to speak to women. I didn't really know about what yet. But then I was like, holy crap, I have 8 years of pageant experience. Like, what did I learn in those 8 years that could help people? And so just hearing you talk about like, you don't know what's next. It's so uncertain. It's really uncomfortable because we always have such a high bar for ourselves. You're not alone. You're not alone. And I think a lot of title holders go through that. And I can say the same thing. And we even want to do the same career. So let's do it. Let's journey it together. That's even more fun.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up here soon, but I first just want to ask you, how was your Miss USA experience?
It was definitely different. I mean, as you can imagine, competing in the middle of a pandemic, I don't think is very ideal for anyone. But I do appreciate the fact that they did try to make it, as normal as possible. And we were all very safe. We got tested every other day. I mean, I probably got tested 4 or 5 times just alone. We got temperature checks every day. I mean, it was very tedious and making sure that we're 6 feet apart. I do wish that I could have gotten to, learn more about the other contestants and my fellow pageant sisters, because we were in these little pods and bubbles of groups and we couldn't really step outside of those. So really, aside from my roommate and the people who were in my bubble, I didn't really get to know that many people. But thankfully, we have social media and we are planning a reunion trip very soon. So, I think we'll have that chance to really just talk and get to know each other how we wanted to while we were there. But nonetheless, it was still a great experience, still a very life-achieving dream and goal for me, and something that I never thought I would be able to accomplish. So just saying that I was there and I placed top 16, is just mind-boggling to me.
That's so cool. Well, congratulations. What an awesome, amazing accomplishment. And you'll always have the title of Miss Louisiana USA. So you know what? Utilize that too that you have right now, still as Miss Louisiana. And girl, the sky's the limit for you. So I'm in your corner. And thanks so much for doing this interview. It's been so much fun talking with you and getting to know you a little bit better. Hopefully we can meet in person sometime.
I know, hopefully soon.
Hopefully. Well, have an awesome day and thanks for jumping on today.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Also, please follow me on social media at Miss Tori Kruse. Until next time, be unstoppable.